Greetings, Derek DeBrosse, coming to you from Columbus, Ohio, Munitions Law Group, munitionsgroup.com. Offices in Atlanta, Georgia, Columbus, Ohio, and Louisville, Kentucky. Munitionsgroup.com. Please like us, follow us on social media, and always click that little bell button there so you get notifications on YouTube from us. Today's question comes from a Cody, and Cody asked if you had a Prius, I guess your particular Priuses, are needed to transport in a vehicle that did not have a trunk space that could not be accessed from the inside. How would you transport safely and legally? So I think your question, if I understand it correctly, is you have a car, a vehicle where you can access the trunk through the back seat. So it's is accessible from the inside of the vehicle, because the law permits you to keep a firearm in a compartment only accessible by leaving the vehicle, in Ohio at least. So I think that's what you're getting at. How would you transport it safely and legally? So again, the law goes over this. I actually have an old website where I lay out Ohio car carry law. It's ohiogunlawyer.com. I'm going to be taking it down here in the near future, but that information is there still if you wanted to get it, and I try to lay it out in very simple layman's terms. So under state law, basically, if you have a concealed handgun license, there's no restriction for the most part on how to carry a handgun loaded in the car. But that doesn't apply to long guns, and if you don't have a concealed handgun license, it doesn't apply to any of those guns, so you still have to keep it, number one, unloaded. The gun needs to be in a package, box, or case, and the ammunition needs to be complete and separate enclosure. You can also keep like shotguns in a shotgun rack. I haven't seen those since the 90s, if I remember correctly. But basically, excuse me, that's how you carry it safely and legally. As far as rifles, again, they need to be unloaded, ammunition out, and you should always lock that action open. If it's an AR, I would put a flag in it, so if it, you hit a bump and the action goes forward, that it's not actually it's still open, right? Because the law requires the action to be opened. Regarding federal law, there is, under the 1986 Gun Owners Protection Act, there was a clause put into that law that basically created a baseline of how you would carry a gun from state to state, so we can do away with this need of not understanding what the next state I'm going into on a trip is going to say. If I have my gun carried legally in one state, it might not be legal in Illinois, right? So they did pass a safe passage law, I think that's what it's called, and it basically says if the gun's unloaded, it's kept in a compartment only accessible by leaving the vehicle, or if it's a type that doesn't have that, it's going to be a locked bag, box, or case, if I remember correctly. That's how you would carry it, right? So they kind of creates this baseline. The problem with it is, and there's a great case on this you should read about, Brian Aiken, A-I-T-K-E-N, I think he was moved from Colorado to New Jersey. If I remember the facts correctly, he called ahead and said, hey, I got a Glock, how do I carry it in New Jersey? He said, this is how you carry it, gets arrested or stopped. They arrest him for it. Apparently it wasn't correct advice, and he was prosecuted for it. And he tried to bring in this federal law, and if I remember correctly, the judge wouldn't allow it. He was sentenced to 7 years for that, if I remember correctly. The Governor Christie, did end up ultimately pardoning him after he started with a clemency, and then he did a pardon. But it, potentially ruined Brian's life. So there is this federal law out there, but some states treat it as an affirmative defense, meaning that you have to affirm it, and the judge has to permit it to come in as a defense. And in this case, that didn't happen. It didn't work out the way that Brian had hoped. So ultimately, he was exonerated through a pardon by the governor, but something to keep in mind. So I hope that answers your question. As always, remember to be safe out there and carry on.